Hi friends, this is Caitlin and today we are going to make a really fun Summerween card. So I decided to create this summer Halloween mashup using some of my favorite Stamping Bella images. So I have this Oddball pumpkin pile. They're so cute, one big image that has all three, as well as the set of pumpkins which has those individuals, the Oddball Frankenstein which we'll be using for the sentiment, and then to change it up I'm going to be adding in the butterflies from the Bundle Girl with Butterflies, and I'm going to show you how I layer my scenes with these full blue rubber stamps that you can't see through, right? And we can't cut apart. So we're gonna do some creative masking, and I'm gonna use this piece of packaging to create a seamless look with all of my stamps. But first, if you are not already, please hit that subscribe button. It's an easy and free way to support my channel, and it means you won't miss out on any of my fun Friday videos sharing some card inspiration with you. So I'm going to be starting out using my MISTI. The MISTI is not necessary for all of your card making skills and techniques, but for this one it is pretty important. You want some kind of stamping platform so that you can be sure that when you line up your images, they stay where you put them. So I am using this sentiment from the Oddball Frankenstein stamp set just to make sure that I have enough room for it later on. And I'm going to start out by stamping my Oddball pumpkin pile. Now with these Stamping Bella images, you want to make sure that you take out your foam insert from your MISTI because of the foam on the stamp. You just don't need it. And I'm going to be creating a mask for my little pile and the leaves. So I just stamped my image on a full stick post-it note and cut it out, fussy cut it, and the individual leaves that were kind of hanging off of it I just cut separately on their own and just kind of stuck on. I found this was much easier and much less intimidating for me than trying to cut the whole thing out at once. It just got kind of overwhelming. So now that I have that all masked, the next further back layer of our piece are going to be pumpkins from that pile. So I have the biggest and I think the medium pumpkin pulled here. And I'm just kind of creating a little pumpkin patch around them. And now is when I am pulling in my packaging. So this is just a piece of stamp packaging, right? A regular stamp set came inside this. I am lining up my packaging in the corner, and I'm making sure I have a little bit of room around my cardstock so that I can shift my cardstock to make sure that my image is straight. Then you lift off the packaging and stamp your image in place. So I'm going to do the same thing to line up the butterflies from my little Bundle Girl set, right? So you can see I'm going in blind here. I'm just stamping this as a kind of a practice round so that I can get a general idea of where my butterfly is going to make sense. And in between, I'm just wiping that off with a stamp chamois. Any like water wipey, anything like that will help take the ink off. Because it's that plastic packaging, it's not going to stick. So now I have my butterfly close enough, and I'm just going to leave my packaging in place but shift my card down so that everything is lined up, that my butterfly is going to sit on top of that pumpkin. So I also made a mask of the Bundle Girl's head just to make sure that any extra little lines wouldn't kind of creep from my stamp if my inking wasn't super precise. So now I'm taping my cardstock into place just with some washi tape so that I know it's not going to shift, and I'm stamping my butterfly. So then I removed that mask just because it was kind of awkwardly placed, and I'm going to repeat the same exact steps with the other butterfly over on that tiny little pumpkin in the corner. So the hardest part for me right now is moving my magnet around when I don't have the foam insert because it's so strong. But yeah, so I am lining that up with this time I tried something a little different and I taped down my packaging instead of using the magnet. So definitely try it both ways and see what works best for you, but then you just flip it up out of the way when it's in a good spot and you're good to go. So I masked up my butterflies, and I'm going to make my background with some ink blending. So I grabbed my Oxide just because I wanted kind of that hazy summer look to this card. And I'm starting by going in with Twisted Citron. I wanted this definitely to feel like a summer bright and cheery kind of background scene. I didn't want anything super fall, and I thought about going with blue, but I don't know why. The yellows were just kind of speaking to me and that really bright sunshine kind of feel for the sky. So I started out with that Twisted Citron, then I went in with Squeezed Lemonade, and I wasn't planning on oxides to begin with. So in hindsight, I would have waited to stamp my sentiment until after I had ink blended, just so that that oxide kind of leaves that powdery, chalky kind of finish, which on the card itself looks beautiful, but it did kind of create a little bit of a haze over my sentiment. And I just didn't feel like using the packaging to line it back up and restamp it. You definitely could, and if you were going to try to restamp a sentiment or an image that you had already removed from your stamping platform with one of those rubber stamps that you can't see through, that is exactly how I would do it. I had just already put in so much time for this scene, I did not feel like going back over it. So now is the best part of the whole card, and that's removing the stamps. This is just, it's so magical to me when you take them off and you see everything come together. So I am saving my masks. I have them over on the side. I'll tuck them into my Stamping Bella packaging when I'm done. I just put them on the back of the card that's in the front of the packaging. And I grabbed my Copic coloring sheet, my Sandy Allnock hex chart, and I'm using that just to pick out some yellows and some greens to go around my images where I know my fussy cutting was not perfect. And then as I'm coloring in, I'll find even more spaces and we will fill them in with those. So it was mostly this one, the Y08, I think a little bit of either Y02 or Y06, and then YG, I think like 03 and maybe 21 are what I ended up doing more for the grass. But I love this hex chart because you can just hold your card right up to it and see exactly what colors are going to work the best for what you need. And it takes the stress out of that fussy cutting phase for me because I just feel like I am not the best fussy cutter. And so if I don't psych myself up extra, it tends to go a little more smoothly. So now we're getting into the super fun part, bringing the whole scene together with our Copic coloring. So I decided to go in with some really, really dark brown oranges. So I'm going in with that E19 to lay in my shadows, and I'm just building on those artist drawn lines, then a Y07 to kind of pull and feather those edges out. You really want to make sure that those areas where, you know, everything would kind of be concave are the darkest, and leaving a nice little highlight right on those edges so that everything gets nice and separated and you have really good definition. Then it was the YR68, that one, and then Y38. So I ended off with a yellow because I thought that would tie in really nicely with all the yellow in the background. I think I forgot to mention on that background I did add in some mustard seed to that middle section, but I will make sure that all of my colors and supplies are listed in that description box below for you. So if you're not sure or I skipped over something, definitely go check down there because all the information will be there for you. I decided to color in all of my pumpkins in the same kind of color scheme today, but you could definitely have fun and play around with some cream colored pumpkins or kind of changing the shades of orange that you're using, because obviously in the middle of the summer, if you do even have pumpkins sprouted yet, which I don't think they would be sprouted now, but probably in the next, couple weeks to a month they would start. They certainly would have extra green, or, they would not be all fully ripened. But just for the sake of making sure that these are still very clearly pumpkins, I decided to just stick with the same orange and brown color scheme for this whole thing. I really also liked the level of saturation that these colors had up against that kind of really golden yellow in the background. And I am so in love with the Oddball designs from Stamping Bella. I think they are so cute. I love them all. I love their kind of blank stares. But I also love how silly and goofy these bottom two pumpkins are, right? He's got his little weird grimace, and then a vampire, I don't know, gothy pumpkin. He's just so cute. So I'm again just following those same things. These smaller pumpkins definitely don't have as many artist drawn lines to kind of guide you through that shading. So I kind of just created my own kind of shadows and marks, and then kind of left that spot in the middle of their face a little bit brighter and lighter, just so that you don't lose kind of the expression in adding too much detail around their little faces. So I did the same thing for this teeny tiny pumpkin, and I'm gonna go in and add in some B, I think 00 and some BV quadruple 0, just to give that the eyes on that one a little bit of a glossy finish. And then I went in to color in my leaves. The same deal here. I did the same 3 greens to color in my leaves and my stems. And then it was time to color in these butterflies, and I really wanted them to pop. So I grabbed some RV markers to really kind of change it up and bring an extra kind of new and bright color to the card, something that would tie in really well with this really warm color scheme I've already been building, but something that would also very clearly stand out and help to set this apart as a summer Halloween card. So I also wanted to tell you, because I know it's kind of weird to do a Summerween card, my family owns a haunted attraction, if you didn't know. I did a whole Halloween series last year, October Eve, and I plan on doing one similar this year as a celebration leading up to October and Halloween. But we also do a Christmas show and a summertime show every year. Usually one in the spring as well for St. Patrick's Day. So we have our Summerween show this weekend, and so I was feeling super inspired to create my own kind of Summerween card. And right now I'm just going back in with some extra darker pinks to give a little more definition to those butterfly bodies. And then it was time to kind of pick out what kind of paper to put with this. So I grabbed this Halloween paper pack from My Favorite Things, which I love. And I just think it's cool that this paper pack has some typical Halloween colors, but with some fun colors mixed in, like that hot pink. So I ended up going with this kind of Halloween rainbow stripe because the pink really tied it in and sealed it for me. So I'm going to trim that down to be a regular A2 size panel. I'm going to use my double stitched A2 stack dies from My Favorite Things as well. And I'm just going to tape that into place with the biggest die from that set, just so we have a nice little border the whole way around. I'm going to run that through my die cutter and then add some Tombow Mono permanent adhesive to the back and lay it right into place. So I just think that this scene was so much fun, and even if you do not love Halloween or Summerween the way I do, I hope that using that packaging and combining stamp technique really helps you out. And if you have any questions or anything, leave me a comment below. But I hope you're feeling inspired to play around and create some unique scenes with your stamps. I'm so grateful that you came in to hang out with me today. I wish you the best week, and as always, happy crafting.